Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Hey, look, I just saw a headline that's a little bit disturbing, actually. Reaching over to grab my mouse so I can scroll through it here for you. This headline, if I was affected by this, I would be pissed. And I would be, I don't know what I would do. I mean, I would try to do whatever I could, and I would work with as many of my brothers and sisters that are in the same boat. So, I personally don't know anybody affected by this. I could just imagine, though, how it feels. So I'm going to read the headline to you, and I'm going to let that resonate for a second. And if you know somebody in this circumstance, it's going to click right away. If you are in that circumstance, I would love to hear it. And if you're not affected by it in any way, it'll only take a minute for you to put yourself in that position. All right. This is the headline that made me do this video. Military veterans cut off from U.S. bases in one country, stripping them of lifeline to home. Subtitle: More overseas bases could begin banning retirees. Think about that. Do you know anybody overseas? Retired there, decided that's where they're going to be. Now they can't get onto base. Could you imagine? It's driving me nuts. So I'm going to read through this because it's really irritating, and we'll see what kind of responses we get in the comments. And I don't know, what could we do? I mean, look, I know of circumstances where there are bases in the U.S., okay, not out of the country, U.S. bases that if they're far enough away from big metro areas, that they will allow civilians to get a ID card, obviously not a DOD card, but it's a different type of card. It's not like a military card is what I'm saying. This ID card allows them to get onto base to utilize basically the commissary, PX, that type of stuff to generate revenue, right? So we'll let civilians go onto bases in the U.S., but we won't let retirees go onto bases out of country. Seems ridiculous. All right, so let's read why. Military retirees living in Turkey were told they will lose access to U.S. bases in the country this fall, cutting them off from vital services and access to American products. Air Force Colonel Calvin Powell, commander of the 39th Air Base Wing at, I can't even say it, Incirlik Air Base, issued a memo last week warning the small population of retirees of the impending move, which is set to take place October 1st, according to the Military Times. The restriction of access to base facilities is expected to affect about 121 U.S. military retirees living in Turkey, barring them from commissaries stocked with American groceries and from Army and Air Force exchange service locations. God, everybody knows PX. BX, whatever you want to call it, department stores where members and retirees can get familiar American products. I could just imagine being a retiree out of the country and going, you know what, hey, I'm living out in the country, doing my thing, but I can go back on base. I'm kind of, personally, I'm nostalgic that way. Kind of like to be able to go to the commissary, go get the gas at the gas station, pick up some things at the PX, and that familiar kind of environment. And you're talking about retirees who pushed out 20, 25, 30, 35 years. All right, let's keep going. The retirees will also lose access to the American post office boxes located at on-base post offices, which one retiree said are used for everything from receiving vital medications to casting their ballots in U.S. elections. They use the P.O. box to get vital diabetes medication, and things like cast their vote in America. The retiree who asked to be identified by his first name, Michael, told Fox News Digital, if they lose access to the base, they lose access to their medicine they get from America. Michael, who was medically retired from the military as a result of injuries he sustained while serving in Iraq in 2008, said the Turkish post office the offices are not dependable enough for vital shipments like medication, estimating that 1 or 2 of every 3 packages sent through the system will not arrive at the intended destination. The unreliability of the Turkish postal system could also have an impact on their ability to vote, Michael said, noting that the more dependable military post offices give retirees the peace of mind that their votes reach their destination and are counted. Every election we go to the military post office to cast our vote because we know our vote will get there, he said. If we have to use the Turkish system, it's like rolling your dice. You just don't know if your vote is ever going to get there. One of the perks of retiring from the military has long been the lifetime access to military installations and services. And, side note, a few years ago, that opened up to all VA-rated veterans with your VA ID card. You do have to check in with the guest center, whatever, at the gate and give them your information. They run kind of a soft background check on you, and then you're good to go. But yeah, for retirees, it's always been that way. You have your retiree card, bam, you're on base, everything's great. Oh man, this is so frustrating. Yet Michael said retirees in Turkey were given very little justification for the sudden decision to revoke their access. There are many retirees who believe that this is a way of forcing them to go back to the United States, because if they don't have base access here to be able to get the medicine they need, that pretty much closes the door for them, he said. As part of the memo Powell sent out about the new restrictions, the Air Force commander argued the decision was made necessary by the rules governing the status of U.S. forces in Turkey. The United States' bilateral agreements with Turkey do not permit U.S. forces to extend privileges or access to installations, facilities, and activities to retirees, Powell said in a memo. Well, then that needs to change, right? Powell did not immediately respond to the request for a comment. Meanwhile, other bases around the world have been considering the same restrictions, according to the Military Times officials at Air Force Base in Italy, that they've been looking into similar changes to base access for retirees. At this time, we cannot confirm if or when this change may take place. I can't say it. Aviano, Air Force Captain Mark Goss, a spokesperson for the U.S. Air Force in Europe and Air Force Africa, told the outlet, if there is a change in installation access policies, wing leadership will communicate these to those affected. Restrictions on access to bases in the Philippines have also been considered, and I've seen people on this channel who, at least it seems like, they're in the Philippines. So restrictions on access to bases in Philippines have also been considered, according to the report, but were at least temporarily put on hold while officials reviewed the policies. However, Michael argued that retirees have for years enjoyed access to these installations without issue, leading to speculation that the true reasoning behind the move is more likely an attempt at a cost-saving measure. Michael made clear that most retirees understand that restrictions could be enforced for security reasons, but he does not believe that that has been an issue in Turkey. If ISIS all of a sudden appeared in Turkey or something, and we have to get off the bases, we understand. We play ball, he said. I agree, right? So, I mean, if it was a legit security concern and it's like, hey, look, we got to lock down for a month or whatever while we figure something out, I think everybody would get it. And especially if there was like, hey, we're going to close down for a month to outside, you have a week to grab your stuff, then everybody go in, grab their things, and then get off. Michael also expressed doubt that restricting retirees from the base could save money, instead arguing that allowing their access is extraordinarily profitable for bases. I agree, because of the use of the PX and commissary and so forth. The retirees use the retiree paychecks on base, so there's a huge monetary hit. The combat veteran also pointed out that many of the exchanges on base feature kiosks that are owned by local vendors who heavily depend on the retiree population for the businesses or for the business that sustains their income. I agree. I've seen those when I was overseas, and more often than not, it's not your E3 at those little kiosks buying things. It's your retiree who's buying things. Let's move on. There's a lot of third-party vendors who rent out a stall and they sell here in Turkey. He said, they tell me that 90% of their business is from retirees, so they're not able to keep a living and keep their livelihood. So you're kind of hurting everybody, so including hurting the relationship that you have with the nationals. So I think that's a bad move. I think it's a bad move on the military bases doing that. I think it's a bad move, impacting the retirees like that. I think it's a bad move for the host nation. You're disrupting livelihoods of the host nation's citizens, and that's what kind of relationship is that? So I think it stinks all the way around. So I'd love to hear your comments on it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.